There's an opportunity that you have to make a choice today, and it's to show up different. You're the only one that can make this decision. But let me tell you, when you do decide, it's a whole new game. And you've got other people on your team that you didn't have before because you're activating the Holy Spirit. And that power is so great, provides such a roadmap that you'll never go wrong.
Welcome to the Crucible Project Podcast. The Crucible Project is a nonprofit organization committed to creating a world of men and women who live with integrity, grace, and courage, helping them to fulfill their God-given purpose. This podcast will discuss important and sometimes difficult topics while delivering practical life applications with men and women who are currently practicing this work. We are igniting Christ-like change in men and women through experiences of radical honesty and grace.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crucible Podcast. Your host this week, Jay Mountjoy. I'm very excited to be joined by Eric Himes. Eric is the founder of The Inspired Culture, a seasoned leader with 20 years of experience, known for his servant leadership, humility, and commitment to a continuous growth. His career began with helping build a company from the ground up, guiding it into a thriving corporation through vision, perseverance, and innovation, particularly by launching new product and service divisions. Grounded in faith and driven by purpose, Eric is passionate about empowering individuals and teams to reach their full potential. A devoted father of four, he considers parenting his most meaningful role, which has deepened his empathy and mentorship. Love that. Outside of work, he's an avid marathon runner, reader, and writer, continually seeking knowledge and personal development. His leadership extends into nonprofit work and community engagement, always anchored by integrity, compassion, and the belief that humility and lifelong learning can change the world. I am so excited, honored to welcome Eric Himes to the Crucible Podcast.
Jay, it's great to be here with you, and it's such an honor.
I am super excited about it because selfishly, I am a business owner. So instantly my ears prick up around anything in leadership, just knowing how much value it has brought to me and honestly, how much further I have to go. The mountains beyond mountains, I guess, is my view of that. And just a little bit of time looking into The Inspired Culture, your current project and work, getting to chat with you just for a minute. The Crucible Project has an initial weekend, and I'm so curious as to what kind of a brief snapshot of what your life looked like when you signed up to go to the weekend and kind of your reasons for signing up to go to the weekend. What was that looking like?
Before the weekend, I had a friend, that said, hey, you got to go do this.
Okay.
My buddy Fred.
Okay, I was going to say, and Fred is someone you really trust and respect, right? And he saw something in you. He had done the weekend.
Yeah, he'd done the weekend,
okay.
And then he created his own ministry for kids.
Yeah.
To go through a similar weekend experience, right? And so I've known Fred for a really long time. He knew me. We really got to know each other when my life really got turned upside down. And he said, you got to check out this Crucible thing. I'm like, I don't know. And then I'm like, I need to. This will be really, really good. So committed to do it. And that was the first time I, didn't know what I was getting into, but previously to saying yes to go on that weekend, I probably was reading the Bible for the first time in my life at age 40. And in that, I was reading it for 8 hours a day, literally for 3 months. I got into it and the Holy Spirit just started speaking through it.
Yep.
And I was like, where has this been my whole life? I wish I would have had it much sooner, even though my buddy gave it to me, by the way, funny enough, when I was 18. So I had this book sitting around the house for 22 years before I really got into it.
That sounds very familiar. It sounds like the challenges of life brought you into that fold. You're feeling layered on top, and in with it comes Fred, the Crucible Project. So how does kind of being in Scripture that deeply, how does that serve you or pull you into the weekend?
Yeah, it just recognized for me how much work I needed to do. And it wasn't the work I could do, but the healing I needed. The Holy Spirit was working. And God then opens and navigates as long as you trust and surrender to His will, which I chose to do. Yeah. I said, Eric's done driving the bus. I'm going to get in the passenger seat from here on out, and I'm going to follow your lead. And so this came, and I had to say yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I had to trust, and so, and that's exactly what I needed. That weekend was a major turning point for me.
I think what came up for me was some measure of surrender and definitely resistance to be there. My story is that weekend is for every man.
Yeah.
At the right time.
That's right.
Right. And if you had maybe had that weekend or had seen it or done it when you were 18, probably not the right time, right? Not the same impact. Not that it wouldn't be good, but just, yeah, I find that over and over. It lands at the right time. I think you mentioned healing that needed to happen. So, honor and respect the personal and deep stories. I guess what I'm really curious about was maybe one of the big things we talk about in the Crucible Project is just the emotional impact. So what was kind of your emotional space, your headspace going into the weekend, and then how did that shift coming out? How did you experience that healing also?
Yeah, we can't talk about the weekend, and Fred couldn't tell me about the weekend. I'm like, you want me to go do this, but you're not going to tell me anything about this,
Mhm.
He's like, well, I just can't, but you have to trust, you have to trust.
Yeah.
And so at first I was kind of afraid because I didn't know what I was getting into, but my buddy kept telling me, whatever you do, whatever you put into it, you're going to get out of it.
Mhm.
And you need to let it all out and put it all out there. And the more you do, the better it will be. I listened to that, and that was wisdom from my friend, and I trusted it, right? And this is the first time I'm on this new journey called trust because I never trusted anything before, and that becomes from my past, just the challenges of abandonment and other things as a young kid. And so just didn't know, right? How could I trust anybody but myself because I only could rely on myself? And this is where God's like, well, you can trust me, and I want you to see what it is to trust me. Going into that weekend with that mindset, I put all my faith and trust in him.
Wow. Yeah. I've done the weekend. I've staffed the weekend. For people who are listening, I just want to give, we've said this before. The reason we don't talk about what's on the weekend, not because it's like some secret squirrel thing, but because it's experiential, right? There's impact, there's transformation that can happen there, but this is an experiential weekend, and we want every man to have his own experience. And there is absolutely the opportunity to quote unquote go all in, to surrender fully. And I actually had the man who was up there inviting me to do that. It was like he was looking right into my heart, and he's like, some of you are going to be sitting there thinking, should I go 70%? Maybe should I go 80%? And he was up there and he invited, he said, I went 100% in, and he was inviting us and leading us through his own story and pain and experiences that led him in. So I just want to encourage the people who are listening that, yes, absolutely, it is the experiences that shifted us. The trust, the surrender, knowing what that is to trust and surrender to God. Sounds like that was very scary. Hadn't done it, association with that maybe coming from childhood is only pain. And how does that shift? What does that healing look like coming out of that weekend for you?
You find yourself in the places that need to be refined and looked at. And then you come out the other side knowing that you opened up some doors that needed to be seen, but there's only one person that can heal that, right? And so in that, God goes to work and the Holy Spirit comes alive through it.
I like that. Yeah. I have recently had this image of trailheads, right? That like some of the work that I have done is like, oh, I fixed it. And I definitely had that mentality going into the weekend and then coming back like an onion, right? And more layers coming off. It gets healed. It gets moved further. It deepens. It all those, moves further down the trail. Yeah. That resonates with me. Okay. So how did your life shift in terms of the inspired culture, right? Like that came after this weekend. What was it before the weekend looking like kind of work-wise and in terms of that? What seeds were there? And then, maybe what happened on the weekend that helped all that grow? I want to hear about your experiences building that and what that is.
Absolutely. So before the weekend, I worked so hard because I wanted to be somebody, growing up and especially having a divorced family. Didn't see my mom for 10 years from 12 to 21. And then, my dad was in and out in different ways. I wanted to find this personal value. And I believed if I worked hard enough, I can get it. Right.
Yeah.
And just grow to a certain level, I would be accepted by everyone else. And so I was always there to please everyone, to be accepted. The best way I can describe who I became, I had a good heart, but I was trying to be everything to everyone. And I was never being who I was made to be. And so I built like this beautiful vase on the outside, but it was empty on the inside, right? So it looked great. Oh, they've got everything you could possibly want, family, all the things, right? But, the reality was the pain that I had from my childhood, I never actually worked through, and it just got worse and worse. So therefore, climbed the corporate ladder. I was on over 1,500 airplanes in 19 years, traveled the world, but never home. Never available for my family the way that I needed to be, to the extent that I wanted to be. I provided financially. And when I was there, I did interact with my kids and stuff like that. But I was gone some of the time every week. On the weekends, I'd always be home. But, at least 2 nights a week on average, I was gone in a hotel room somewhere, right? And then usually about 4 airplanes a week doing something. So life was crazy. And I call it the idol closet. So I had all these idols above God that
Mm,
were sitting up there. If it was money, if it was me, if it was you name it. And so I was working towards that status and importance and prestige, wanting to continue to grow in that, only to find out that it's all fleeting, right? And going through the weekend and just as working through the things that I needed to accept, God pointing these things out really great through the scripture reading and
mhm.
through all of that, right? And counseling and whatnot. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, there's a lot of work to be done here. It's not for me to do because I got to surrender it and trust and let God do work through the healing process. And my
Yeah.
job is to be obedient. So unfortunately, my wife files for divorce. That was because of my behavior, right? And
Yeah.
so I own that. I own my part of that for sure. All this happens, and I'm like in the
Wow.
darkest, deepest valley. I'm like, well, what do I do? What do I do with this? I got to turn. And there's only one direction to go is with Christ in this. And so I go and follow God, and I'm like, well, I failed myself.
Mm,
So,
mm,
what a great leader I am, right? You're the hardest person to lead is yourself. I decided to stop leading myself and let God lead me instead through it, right? In his leadership, I surrendered everything and I said, I'm done. You have to tell me what it is you want me to do. Right. And so it was in the middle of the pandemic. I was still working in corporate America, driving down to the city and was getting ready to have a meeting with a client. And the only thing at this point is McDonald's that's open. And by the way, I quit eating fast food. I changed all of these things in my life, right? Because what I found out was I wasn't taking care of myself in any way. Right. So I was like the least healthiest person, overweight, all the things, but it was because I didn't commit to myself to have a healthy life. Right. And so I couldn't give what I didn't have. Didn't know that until I had it. And then I had things to offer from it. And so I changed all these things. And so I'm like sitting in line there, and there's a guy that looks like Bo Jackson standing out in the front ordering food at McDonald's in Chicago. It wasn't Bo Jackson. And we all had masks on, by the way. He walks over, and I'm a shoe person. I love shoes. And Cole Haan, favorite brand. I wear them all the time. I actually climbed the Manitou Incline in Colorado in Cole
Yes.
Haans
Holy cow.
because I had plantar fasciitis and I couldn't wear tennis shoes. So I'd wear dress shoes because they actually felt good. So that's just a story for
Yeah.
another
I
time.
was going to say, for people who don't know, how many hours did it take you to climb that mountain? It's like a stair stepper, but for outside on a real mountain for how many hours? How long did it take you to do it?
So my kids, we were up on the challenge and stuff, and I wrote an ebook on it.
Okay.
Because it's leading your family up the side of a mountain, right? And really what it is to lead in that. So their ages at the time, 16 to 7. My son's 7 and I got my 3 daughters. We did it in an hour and 23 minutes.
Wow.
And I was like surprised because I was expecting to have to carry at least one of them up the mountain. And surprisingly, they were leading the way and doing a great job.
Love it. Yeah. Sorry, I derailed you on shoes, Bo
Yes, you were.
Jackson, McDonald's, Cohan's. Yes.
So we're there, and this guy comes up to me, right, in the middle of the pandemic, in the height of it, where nobody takes off their masks or anything else, because that would just be crazy. And this guy, like, literally steps right in front of me, and he's like, those are nice shoes. Are they Cole Haans? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, I've got a pair of those. And I'm like, hey, that's so weird. Then he pulls down his mask, and he starts talking to me, and he tells me his testimony. Well, his testimony's my testimony. And I'm like, God, you've got my attention. I'm going to sit here and listen. So he just started sharing all of this information with me. And basically, I had been praying since the weekend that I went on. God, I don't want to lead me. I need you to lead me. And I need you to show me what it is that you have for me to do, because I don't know and I don't want to get it wrong. And I want you to make it so obvious that I can't miss it. Literally like a sack of potatoes in the middle of the room. You can't miss it, right? And so this guy comes in, he shares his testimony, literally my testimony of verbatim. And we walk out to this outside of the building on the street corner, and he starts speaking in tongues. And then all these
Yeah.
Bible verses start flowing out of his mouth. And he's like, are you married? And I said, no, I'm right now separated. We're going through a divorce. And he's like, oh, well, you're going to marry a Proverbs 31 wife. You are going to lead a company, and people will be coming to you begging to be baptized. And I was just like, oh, that's, really nice. And I appreciate you telling me this. And he's like, goes to pull out a phone to take a picture. It's a flip phone. Nobody has flip phones. Nobody.
Like, yeah.
And then he pulls it away. And I said, thank you for everything. And he's like, no, no, no. He's like, don't thank me. Thank Jesus. And the next time that I will see you is in heaven. That's what he tells me, right? So I go back up into the corporate office and go to the 19th floor. I just start bawling in the bathroom because I'm just like, I can't believe that. That's the message. That is the message. And before that, I missed a party. I said, God, what do you need me to do? And he's like, you got to turn over every stone in your life, every one of them, every one.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's a big ask. And I said, okay, in your time, we'll turn them all over. So we turned them all over. Even the career I built had to go.
Yeah.
It had to go.
Turning over stones. Sounds like the career is like, okay, I'm letting this go. And that goes away. But I'm guessing some turning over some stones is like looking back at some things and being willing to really look at it, right? And see what creepy crawlies are under there.
Absolutely. Well, and so letting go, right, and turning over these stones was, who are you hanging out with? Who's your community of friends? I had a ton of acquaintances, a few friends. After we turned over the stones, I had like 2 friends, right? Two. That was it.
Yeah.
2 that would be honest with me. Everybody else told me what I wanted to hear. They didn't tell me what I needed to hear, right? And so I had to change my whole friend group. The next thing I needed to do was to get into my purpose and calling, which where I was, I think was a training ground for what I was to go into potentially. But I needed to leave the vocation I was in to start something. I didn't know what he wanted me to start though. That didn't come until after my career ended. It wasn't like I had a plan. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go do this, right? There was no plan. There was no plan.
Felt all comfortable and cozy of like, oh, here's exactly where I'm going to land. I know it's going to be great. Yeah, none of that.
Not even an idea, right? Not even an idea. So it wasn't even like, oh yeah, it wasn't a thought until after. And I'm like, okay, God, I listened to you. I don't have a job anymore. Now what?
Jump first. Wow. Okay.
And then he spoke into that a couple weeks later, right? And he said, okay, here's what we're going to do. In the meantime, I had picked up personal things that were good for me and healthy, like marathon training and running, right? So I run marathons. I just ran the 7th marathon that I've run just this past Sunday. I did the Marine Corps Marathon out in DC. So that was fun. And 2 weeks before that, we did Chicago. So we got those, and we're going to do a few more. But the thing that I found with marathons was I didn't know I could go that far, first of all, ever running in life. And God meets you there in the hardest times, right? The pain that you're in, especially in those later miles. And it was the pain I was in turning over these stones. God was teaching me, like, just endure and know that you're going to finish, right? And so through enduring, you're going to grow. He was teaching me that through the physical first. And now he's teaching me that through the vocational side of it. And so it's really neat how that's happening. That is where then Inspo is born. We'll be a coach. And that's where God's like, no, 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 no. You have to build something to change the lives of many and make room for a lot of people. And so we need you to change cultures.
Yeah.
And that's where that came in to, and that was the birth of the foundation of the inspired culture.
And so these things are all layering on top of each other, it's turning over the stones, letting things out, letting things go, rebuilding. Sounds like the physical care, taking care of yourself. It almost sounds like a spiritual knowledge that can only come from those experiences of the suffering, of the enduring, of getting that sense of like, oh, I'm being taught a bigger thing. And I am curious how I've heard that there are numinous experiences, right? Experiences of like connecting with God that cannot be spoken. But it sounds like you're definitely getting like strong messages of like what this is and what this should be. What does that look like in your life, and how is that coming to you?
Yeah, it's all through prayer. I would say the verbal that I got was on the street corner. And so I haven't gotten another verbal like that. All these experiences to some of the things from the weekend
Yeah.
that show up today. It's like, that's the right path. This is what we got to
Yeah.
do. This is where we have to go. And knowing that God's got me, I actually don't have to worry. And so I
Yeah.
don't worry about anything. I'm to show up. In
Mm.
corporate America, I had to push so many balls up the hill. I carry so much weight to build something, endure so much to create things, and to push to make things happen. On this side, the doors are open. I just have to be there and be willing, and
Mhm.
everything else is falling into place. It's a different type of work I
Mm.
really enjoy, and I can never go back to the other work. It's impossible because the weight of that is literally soul crushing. I know
Mm.
it because I lived it, and I know so many people are living it today. So the inspired culture is to go into organizations to help leaders lead differently than they are today. Leadership is handed off from generation to generation. Good and bad leadership gets handed down. It's all in what you experience or you didn't experience. It's very rarely intentionally sought out because we're looking at, I work in this company, I work for this leader. These are the characteristics this leader has. That's what I need to have to get promoted.
Mm.
Right? It's a very
Mm.
simple equation that we process through as individuals,
Yeah.
and that's gonna be better off in taking care of my family. That's how I'm gonna get ahead. And so a lot of times it's a simple mentality just as that, and that's what we believe. We live in a cycle of principles that aren't lived out to their fullest in leaders, and we don't know, by the way, and so it's that
Mm.
nobody's fault here. It's all in how we've been brought up in the system to
Yeah.
lead. Right? And so through the system is what's delivering the outcome. We have to change the system to
Mhm.
get a different outcome. And we have new people coming in to the organization that are bringing their whole selves, not just half of their selves or part. Everything's coming in. So we have to learn what it is to lead people holistically and be invested differently. And so we developed a framework and a system to take any size organization from top to bottom, all the way through every role, every person, male and female, executive leader to frontline workers, to give them an experience and a process to go through to win at work and at home, personally and relationally. Why can't we be winning on all fronts all at the same time? Not sacrificing our marriage to grow our career. How counterintuitive is that, right? I
Wow.
want to get ahead, but the cost at home is significant.
To your point of like, I'm just gonna take on what I see other leaders doing. It's almost like that's expected. Like you're gonna show up and you're just gonna sacrifice all your personal life and move that into it. And the other thing that popped into my head as you were talking that really resonated with my experience of that is a lot of organizations, some churches confuse conformity with unity. And this new idea of like we're all gonna be one cookie cutter, right? And as you're talking about, yeah, people are showing up in a totally different way, and here's a framework where that gets me very excited. People can bring their whole selves and their whole lives, right,
Yes.
into success.
And
Man.
thrive in all areas at the same time, recognizing that this isn't a sprint in any area, it's an inch by inch movement. If you move them all together consistently, they're always going to be handled with care and be in the right space at the right time always. But it's when we take our eye off the ball with any of those buckets that we start losing ground, and it's hard to make that ground up once it starts to erode away. But then you think about the Grand Canyon, how far apart it is, how deep it is, and all that. Over time, it erodes to where if you're at work and you're not performing, now you lost all credibility, all trust and everything. And at home, you're now just a roommate. There isn't actually this thriving marriage that God wants everybody to have. And that's been lost, right? So we're like left with this option of, do I win at home or do I win at work? Do I win relationally or do I win personally? No, we can win everywhere. And this is how we do this. We remain focused on it. We are intentional about it, and we keep everything in front of us, because the reality is we all have a capacity to do great work and do great things. And it's being smart and intelligent and intentional about truthfully saying no to the things that I shouldn't take on today, and only yes to those I can have capacity for, and recognizing what that looks like and saying, I will get to that, but it's not the right time for me yet, but it will come, right? And that goes back to marathon training. Your first 2-miler doesn't qualify you to run 26 the next day. Right? And good luck trying. You're going to kill yourself doing it. All of us that train and run the 20-miler, we're still extremely sore after 26.2.
Yeah.
Like really sore. So you think about that, it's all in bite-sized chunks. And so we have a scorecard, we have a system and a process, and we teach this. We educate companies on what it is, their leaders and their people, to be part of the inspired culture, to be an inspired leader. And that's done through our framework, that's done through vulnerability, that's done through our culture assessments. We designed our own culture assessment so we can understand what level of inspiration you have in your organization. And then we tailor it from where you are to grow you from there. Because every company has inspiration.
Yeah.
Our job is to open it up. And, for the business side of things, we're going to help you retain your employees. They're going to be much happier. Your productivity value is going to go up by 125% from where it's at today. And you're going to keep your IP, which is going to then drive innovation, because your people are going to be there longer, which is going to help your organization become smarter and more strategic and ready to pivot as the world changes around us. You're going to be equipped with the right talent to do that. And so those are some of the things that we leave for you as we work.
Man. Yeah, I love it. Okay. I'm going to encourage everyone. We'll have your website in there, and it looks like there's ways to learn more, to get involved with some of the other media that you're putting out there, both for work and for family. But one of the things that you talked about, the different frameworks that you have, help me understand your framework of leadership itself and how leaders show up and how you can help them maybe get rid of their personas, work with their personas, right? Work with the way they're showing up and other parts of themselves.
Yeah, Jay, that's a great question. One of the aspects of this is vulnerability and being connected with ourselves. We have to see what we can't. And all of us, including me, we carry blind spots, right? No matter how much work we do, there's always more work to be done. It's a journey that never ends. There's no finish line here. There's only refinement. Even along the lines of the crucible, right? We go through and all the impurities come off, right? And so the refinement process that we go through is an ongoing process, right? To get the greatest out of us, right? And so with that, we have what we call the 50 Masks of Leadership. It's a great course that we take companies through. And we identified 50 masks, 50 personas of how leaders will show up in the boardroom, in front of clients, peer-to-peer, in front of their teams, etc. What we do is we help everybody through this because you're able to catch your own mask through the journey, right? And if I know it, instead of somebody telling me, it's actually a lot easier to accept because I can now see it and I didn't see it before. So going through this, as we relate to these things, we help people understand what the mask is. We help you see what you believe you're getting when you wear it. We then go through to show you the cost of wearing it, not only to yourself, but the organization, your peer group, and your leadership team, and the cost to your own career and family by wearing it, how to remove it, and we give you tools to do that. And then after you remove it, your reward, what you get on the other side. It's the one of the only tools that is, from my vantage point, a lot of vulnerability work, but it's safe work. Why? Because we're telling you what's on the other side. You're not going to be surprised, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go through this and I don't know what's going to happen, because that's the biggest thing. I have a playbook, right? I've been using this playbook for a long time. I'm comfortable with it, even if it's unhealthy. I know how to navigate and manage it. This makes me look a certain way. If I quit using this playbook, I may not know how to operate in a meeting because I've been using this playbook for a really long time and it's served me well, right? So we want you to get rid of that playbook. We want you to take off that mask. I want you to show up as your authentic self and see the real change that takes place and the impact that you'll have on everybody else around you as a leader. The greatest impact you can have is when you truly show up as yourself and who you're designed to be, not to be somebody else. Because Jay, there's only one of you, there's only one of me, and there's only one of everybody else out there because we're all unique.
I love that. As we're wrapping up our time here, I definitely want to give you kind of the last word, anything you want to leave people with, anything, it's just based on our time that, I think be helpful for people listening to this. In terms of the Crucible Project, it sounds like there was definitely like an unlocking, right? Just even the attitude of surrender, but has launched you. And I feel the power and the clarity and the good work that is coming out of all of that. The thing that I think I'm most curious about is knowing where you are now with the road you've been on. If you could right now just show up in front of Eric Himes years ago, unhealthy, struggling, making some money, traveling now with his family, what could you show up and offer him to help him?
The message would be, I know you believe what you're doing right now is the right thing and the best thing, and it's gotten you this far, but I need you to trust me to know that this isn't the path for you. And the one that you're supposed to be on is over here. And the sooner you get here, the better you're going to be. Trust me to come over here. And it may be hard at first, but as you take one step, every step you take is a step further away from the new beginning I have for you. But that beginning is going to be so much better than everything you've experienced to this point in your life.
Yeah. I have so much compassion for that Eric that did find that surrender. And he was willing to move forward. And I love Eric Himes has shown up here in Inspo Inspired Culture. That is so helpful for me as an entrepreneur and a business owner. So, as we wrap up our time here, what would you like to leave people with? Want to give you the last word for our time together here.
I appreciate it, Jay. And for all of you guys tuning in, men and women, I just think it's so important. There's an opportunity that you have to make a choice today. And it's to show up different. It's to choose a path to be the change that you want to see. You're the only one that can make this decision. I can't make it for you. Jay can't make it for you. You have to decide. But let me tell you, when you do decide, it's a whole new game. And you've got other people on your team that you didn't have before because you're activating the Holy Spirit. And that power, it's so great. It provides such a roadmap that you'll never go wrong ever again. As long as you stay on it, you're disciplined in it, you have obedience, and you trust and surrender. And that's the opportunity that we have for you, your families, your organizations, and all of that.
Thank you. Beautiful. The Inspired Culture Inspo. I am inspired. And I just want to thank you again so much, Eric, for your time, showing up, sharing your journey, and sharing your work with us.
You bet, Jay. It's been such a pleasure. I'm really grateful for your organization, the ministry, and the work that you guys do there. It's an honor to have had the opportunity to participate in it, and really, really grateful for it.
But honors all around to all the men and women who have gone through, who create the Crucible Project. We can't wait to see you on the next weekend. And thanks for stopping by the Crucible Podcast. Bye for now, everybody.
For more information about our weekends, please go to thecrucibleproject.org. Or if you're ready to get started on your transformational journey right now, you can connect with one of our Crucible certified coaches for a free 30-minute session at thecrucibleproject.org/coaching. That's thecrucibleproject.org/coaching. If you like what you heard, connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Rate and review wherever you're listening. And don't forget to subscribe on your preferred podcast platform. Thank you for listening.